disobedience, to say that the United States government needs to lift this blockade that is stopping educational supplies, medicines, and sports equipment from arriving in the hands of the Cuban people. And we are not alone. We're standing together with a movement that stretches around the world. And on October of last year, on October in 2011 was the 20th year that the United Nations General Assembly condemned the United States blockade against Cuba for the 20th consecutive year. There was 186 countries, including Canada, that voted against the United States blockade of Cuba. Only 2 countries were in favor of keeping this inhuman and immoral blockade. And so we are standing together not only as a group of Caravanistas and our supporters here in Texas, but as a worldwide movement demanding an end to this cruel and inhuman policy against Cuba. We had some difficulties at the British Columbia-Washington border. We were initially told that none of our aid would be allowed into the United States. We were accused of bringing commercial goods rather than humanitarian aid. Through discussion with lawyers and Gail Walker, the co-director of IFCO Pastors for Peace, we convinced those border guards that it was humanitarian aid and that they needed to let it through. The next barrier that they put up against us at the BC-Washington border was trying to tell us that sports equipment was not humanitarian aid. We again fought that with Gail Walker, with lawyers, and with a 24-hour protest staged at the BC-Washington border to get not only the majority of the humanitarian aid through, but all of it, including the sports equipment. And that truck full of humanitarian aid that was collected across British Columbia, our province in Canada, we made it all through the border after 24 hours of protest, sleeping overnight at the border, and that aid is currently loaded onto these buses here in McAllen, Texas, and on its way to Cuba. So I want to thank everybody who has been a part of supporting this initiative. I want to encourage people to get involved next year in the 2013 Caravan to Cuba, because we are going to be doing this every year until the United States ends this inhuman and criminal policy. Abajo el bloqueo!
Abajo el bloqueo!
Lift the blockade!
Lift, lift, lift!